Too cold, Donald, really, to have your inauguration outside because the temperature is going to be 23 degrees. Okay, let's just put this into perspective. It was 7 for Reagan. It was 22 for Kennedy. It was 28 degrees for Barack Obama with winds somewhere in the 20 mile an hour range as well. It was freezing. So I'm not sure it's the cold. I think maybe it's that you're afraid of the crowd sizes and that hotels are still available. And that a lot of people, as many people as, showed up for, Barack Obama or Joe Biden or whatever, won't be showing up for your inauguration. I think it's the crowd sizes. That number is more important than the temperature number.
Lemon really suffers from extreme Trump derangement syndrome. And the same can be said for some Democrats who are just disappointed that the president won't be out in the open for them to see. Incoming White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt makes a stunning announcement on TV. Illegal immigrants are now starting to leave the country. And House Speaker Mike Johnson confirms what many of us already knew about Joe Biden. Now, I got this and a ton more today, guys, but let's go ahead and start with the president's inauguration first. And guys, before we jump in, I just want to say I appreciate you guys. Hope you guys are doing well. Thank you so much for hitting the like button and for sharing these videos on your social media platforms. I totally appreciate you guys supporting us. Let's get going.
A scramble at the Capitol. Construction workers racing against the clock to build a new inauguration stage inside the rotunda after the frigid forecast forced them to scrap the traditional inauguration ceremony outside on the west front of the Capitol.
We're going to make this work.
Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar.
This will ultimately be the president-elect and his team's call, and we will honor his request and whatever decision he makes.
Trump made the call on Friday, citing the Arctic blast sweeping the country. He said he doesn't want to see people hurt or injured in any way.
Now, there's something really weird with this change. Democrats, they don't seem to be too happy that it's indoors. And you remember what Don Lemon said just a second ago, right? This is because of crowd size, right? Well, hotels within DC have been at near capacity for almost 3 months now, ever since President Trump won back last year. It's even forced attendees to look for rooms elsewhere because there aren't any more that's left. Now, there's also the threat assessment that was considered very high. Given that there's already been multiple attempts on Trump's life since last year, one user on X claims that Democrats are more upset than Republicans given this change. Now, it makes you wonder, why do you think that they're upset about this? Well, the reason is that this could be their last shot at stopping Trump from taking office. Air quotes here. Now, while a lot of Americans are excited about Trump's second term, there are those who are dreading it. Some of them are Kamala Harris lovers and supporters. The majority of this country is expecting big things when it comes to deportations. And right out the gate, President Trump, along with border czar Tom Homan, are hitting the ground running, with some now deciding to leave before the mass deportations even begin.
Can't even imagine that uncertainty right now, being at home, wondering whether or not you, yourself, your family members could potentially be deported, how quickly, all of that running through those scenarios and trying to work with advocates like the ones in Texas, here in California, the ones that our sister stations have spoken with to get an idea of exactly how those in the immigrant community are feeling right now. Take a listen.
A lot of distrust and also what they're worried about being separated as a family.
Know what agencies are available to assist you in the event that you get detained, and to always know that you have the right to have an attorney advise you on both the criminal and the immigration impacts.
And then, of course, the reason why there's this uncertainty is because of promises made by President-elect Trump, as well as some of his cabinet picks on the campaign trail and even after they won the election. According to CNN, executive actions that could be taken as soon as President Trump is sworn in could include U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement sweeps in major cities, sending more Pentagon resources to the U.S. southern border, placing additional restrictions on who is eligible to enter the U.S., and then this one, for those who are already here seeking citizenship in the U.S., the rollback of Biden-era policies and mass deportations. According to some experts, there are about 11 million immigrants estimated to be living in the U.S. right now. And the side other side to this, though, is that some are preaching patience here, because with 11 million potentially or more, that there could be a very long and lengthy process to carry out deportations, and that it could not be as simple as maybe those in the Trump administration are saying. But back out here live, we are also seeing reports, according to the Associated Press, of those who are not willing to take that chance of waiting and are actually self-deporting, going to other countries, like one woman that the AP profiled who went from Nicaragua to the U.S., and then as soon as Trump was elected and they started hearing again some of those promises, has now moved to Ireland to seek their citizenship there.
But we got to ask the question, guys. Well, what happens now? White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt confirms the first few actions that the president will be taking once Donald Trump is sworn in. Take a listen.
The American people can expect that President Trump and his administration are going to deliver on the promises that he made to the American people on the campaign trail. And one of many of those promises is launching the largest mass deportation operation in American history. The Biden administration has allowed an unsustainable wave of illegal immigrant criminals into our countries. We have seen them migrate into every community and every state across this country. Every state is now a border state. This is unsustainable. And anyone who breaks our nation's laws has to be removed from this country. We must be a nation of law and order. And don't just take it from me. The American people are on President Trump's side when it comes to this promise. According to a new New York Times poll that was released this morning, 68% of Americans support sending illegal immigrants home, and 83% of Americans support deporting illegal immigrants, especially those who have committed crimes in this country. So President Trump has the support of the American people on his side, and he is going to deliver on this very important promise to secure our nation's borders and deport illegal migrant criminals.
A lot of Democrats are saying that they are going to be resisting. Even rank and file federal workers have essentially said that they are going to be resisting, doing whatever they can to resist President Trump and his plans and executive orders. How do you respond to that?
The support for President Trump in this city and across this great country is much louder and much greater than the defeated resistance that opposed him on November 5th and may continue to this day. But President Trump is going to be a president for all Americans, from red states and blue states. He is unifying this country. You are seeing people from Silicon Valley, from Main Street to Wall Street, who are coming out in support of President Trump and his policies.
Goodbye, Corinne. Hello, Caroline. I hate how close their names sound. Anyway, this is going to take some getting used to, but it is definitely a step towards the right direction. Well, guys, the world is teetering on the edge of a food crisis, and at the heart of the problem lies a seemingly unremarkable mineral called potash. Now, this potassium-rich substance is a critical ingredient in fertilizers, essential for helping grow crops stronger, survive droughts, fend off pests, and also to produce higher yields. Yet, despite its importance, potash has largely gone unnoticed by the general public until now. The story begins with a warning that's been echoing for decades. Overcultivation is stripping farmlands of the nutrients needed to sustain food production. Compounding this issue is a growing global population that the United Nations predicts will require a 70% increase in food production by 2050. That means doubling the world's current food output in just 2 generations. Now, this is a Herculean task under the best of circumstances, but the world's fragile food system faced a seismic shock back in 2021 when the United States imposed sanctions on Belarus, one of the largest potash producers. Then in 2022, Russia's invasion of Ukraine sent the supply chain into chaos. Together, Russia and Belarus control over 40% of the world's potash exports. When their supplies were disrupted, the impact was immediate and it was devastating. Prices soared from $300 to nearly $1,200 per ton almost overnight, leaving farmers scrambling to afford the fertilizer they desperately needed. Nowhere has this crisis been more felt acutely than in Brazil, one of the world's largest agricultural powerhouses. Brazil is responsible for producing 1 in every 10 plates of food consumed globally, yet it relies on imports for 98% of its potash needs. For Brazilian farmers, the skyrocketing prices have been a crippling blow, threatening their ability to grow the food that feeds millions. But in the face of this dire situation, a beacon of hope and the sponsor of today's video has emerged. Brazil Potash Corp. Listed on the New York York Stock Exchange under the ticker symbol GRO. The company's ambitious Autazes project could revolutionize Brazil's cultural landscape. Nestled near the Amazon River, the project aims to produce 2.4 million tons of potash annually once fully operational, enough to meet 20% of Brazil's current demand. While that's just a fraction of what's actually needed, it is a vital first step toward reducing Brazil's dependence on imports. The Autazes project isn't just a technical marvel, it's an economic game changer. By producing potash locally, Brazil potash can slash shipping costs and delivery times. Whereas imported potash takes an average of 107 days to reach Brazil's farming regions, potash from Autazes will arrive in just 2.5 days. This efficiency will not only reduce the cost, but it will also provide farmers with a reliable and timely supply of this essential nutrient. The company has already secured significant backing. Mining company Franco-Nevada Corporation has signed on as a cornerstone investor, while the Ameiji Group, one of the world's largest private soybean producers, has committed to a major offtake agreement. Additionally, Brazil Potash has locked in a 15-year shipping deal with Hermasa, granting exclusive transport rights to ensure the supply of the 2.2 to 3 million tons of potash annually. Leading the charge is Mayo Schmidt, who previously built Nutrien into the world's largest potash producer with a market cap of around $23 billion. Now, Schmidt's expertise, combined with a team that includes Brazil's former Attorney General, the former Minister of Agriculture, and a former senator of the country's largest farming region, brings unparalleled experience to the table. The potential for the Autazes project is immense. Currently, the mine's operations are based on exploring just 5% of the basin. Even at that limited scope, the mine has an estimated lifespan of 23 years. Now, if all goes according to plan, Brazil Potash could expand to 2 additional deposits nearby, significantly increasing its production capacity. The broader market outlook adds to the excitement. Analysts predict that the global potash industry will grow from $57.74 billion in 2022 to $93.5 billion by 2032, a staggering 62% increase. Investors have taken notice. Over the past year, more than 77 hedge funds have added potash stocks to their portfolios. Companies like Mosaic Corp, Archer Daniels Midland, and Nutrien Limited have seen their share prices soar, with some more than quadrupling in value. Even industry titan BHP is making major moves, investing $4.9 billion in the second stage of its Jansen Potash project in Canada, with total investments in the sector exceeding $15 billion. This flurry of activity underscores potash's growing importance in a world that is increasingly dependent on sustainable food production. And the stakes couldn't be any higher. As potash prices ripple through the food system, they threaten to push up food costs and lower the nutritional quality of crops, an alarming prospect for a world that's already grappling with hunger and malnutrition. But with the Autazes project poised to bring much needed relief, Brazil Potash is not just a company, it's a critical player in the global fight to secure our food future. In this unfolding story, the path forward is clear. By unlocking the potential of Brazil's own resources, Brazil Potash is offering a solution that could stabilize food supplies, empowers farmers, and protect millions from the threat of food shortages. The world will be watching as this story continues to unfold and as Brazil Potash takes its place at the forefront of a new agricultural revolution. Investors should always do their own due diligence. This is not considered investment advice. Now, while I don't want to stir up any controversy here, House Speaker Mike Johnson just revealed something rather interesting recently. And it's also questionable as to why he's saying this now. Now, according to him, Joe Biden would sometimes sign executive orders that he didn't understand. This is a long story, but I'm telling you guys, it is totally worth it. Watch this.
January a year ago, almost exactly a year ago, I had been asked, I became speaker in October 2023, and there were all sorts of big national security concerns and everything going on, and I started requesting a meeting with the president because, you know, I'm kind of old school. I'm a constitutional law guy. The Speaker of the House should be able to talk to the president, especially in times of great national interest and calamity. But they wouldn't let me meet with him, and his staff kept giving me excuses. This went on for like 8 or 9 weeks. I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, he doesn't have time. What are you talking about? I'm second in line of the presidency. He has time. I need to talk to him. We had, I can't say the classified parts, but we had some big national concerns at the time that I was losing sleep over. Finally, I just went to the Hill press corps and I said, the president is not being allowed to meet with the speaker. There's a problem. So they started putting pressure on him. Long story short, they finally relented. They invited me to the White House. I show up and I realize it's actually an ambush because it's not just me and the president. It's also Kamala Harris, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem, you know, the CIA director, everybody. And then So I walked in the Oval and, oh, I know what this is. They're going to hotbox the speaker on Ukraine funding. That's what it was. This is probably third week of January. We sit down, we're in the midst of it, and the whole conversation, and I'm going, we don't need to have this conversation. The president reaches over just like this. We're sitting right next to the fireplace in the Oval, and he grabs my arm and he says, the speaker and I just need a couple minutes together. Would y'all just leave us alone? And I looked up on the faces of some of the staff standing around the wall, and they're like, oh, no, he did it. So he called it. He's the commander-in-chief. So everybody leaves, and he and I are standing awkwardly in the middle of the Oval Office right over the rug by that coffee table. And I said, Mr. President, thanks for the moments. This is very important. I got some big national security things I need to talk to you about that I've heard and I think you know, and what do we do? But first, real quickly, Mr. President, can I ask you a question? I cannot answer this from my constituents in Louisiana. Sir, why did you pause LNG exports to Europe? Like, I don't understand, liquefied natural gas is in great demand by our allies. Why would you do that? Because you understand, we just talked about Ukraine. You understand you're fueling Vladimir Putin's war machine because they got to get their gas from him, And he looks at me, stunned with this, and he said, I didn't do that. And I said, Mr. President, yes, you did. It was an executive order 3 weeks ago. And he goes, no, I didn't do that. And he's arguing with me. I said, Mr. President, respectfully, could I go out here and ask your secretary to print it out? We'll read it together. You definitely did that. And he goes, oh, you talk about natural gas. Yes, sir. He said, no, you misunderstand. He said, what I did is I signed this thing we're gonna conduct a study on the effects of LNG. I said, no, you're not, sir. You paused it. I know. I have the export terminals in my state. I talked to those people this morning. This is doing massive damage to our economy, national security. It occurred to me, Barry, he was not lying to me. He genuinely did not know what he had signed. And I walked out of that meeting with fear and loathing because I thought, we're in serious trouble. Who is running the country? I don't know who put the paper in front of him, but he didn't know.
We all knew Joe Biden wasn't running this country, but it's kind of disappointing to hear that the House Speaker knew this and yet forgot the 25th Amendment. And so this is why it's just kind of hard to trust some of these lawmakers because they're not actually doing what they should be doing behind the scenes. You know what I'm saying here? Now, if you guys want to look back on Biden's epic failures during his term, make sure you go and check out my previous live streams. I've covered his farewell address that many find to be ominous. As always, appreciate y'all hitting the like button and sharing these videos. You're absolutely amazing, and I totally appreciate your support. I'll see you guys on the next one.